All right, so we have a controller that can receive event handlers from the template, right, where we can type in the title of the movie that we want to search, correct? What I'd like to be able to do here in the search movie by title is to generate this HTTP request that we were looking earlier, right? These types of requests that we were playing around with, right? We would like to be able to do that, right? Type in some title of a movie using like search, and we can type in avatar, right? It comes back with an array of movies that match my search criteria. Yes? Okay. So this is what we want to generate. Now, we could do it right in here in the controller, but that's a bad practice, right? Usually, any communication with the HTTP world should be wrapped inside of a service, inside of a web service. All right, so let's do that. Let's create a web service here that can actually generate that call. Let's create .service. We'll call it movie service. So this movie service is going to encapsulate all my communication with this outside HTTP resource. Okay, there's really two things that I need to do with that I can possibly do. One is search by title or search by IMDb. Yes, if I search by title, it's going to come back with an array of movies that match. If I search by IMDb, it'll return just one movie, right? But those are the only two things that I could possibly do. I can't create new movies; it won't let me. Typically, service, not server. Typically, a service would allow me to implement the 4 CRUD operations, right? Create, read, update, and delete, right? But since it's not our API, right? We didn't create it. We don't have the credentials to use it. It only gives us read-only operations, right? It only allows us to read information, right? We can't create or delete or update. Okay, so let's implement this movie service in a function of the same name. So function movie service, there it is. And so let's implement a function that will allow me to search the movie by title. I'll use the same exact name as the controller. So implement it in a function of the same name. So function search movie by title. And this is receiving the movie title. And what I'd like to be able to do here is do the query, right? Generate that query over to the server. And the HTTP that allows us to do that, the query that allows us to do that is this right here. Okay, so the URL looks like this. Yes? So that's the URL, right? And with my API key, don't use it. And the movie title. So so notice that I have a parameter for that movie title, so I can copy that and I can concatenate it in there. So that's the URL I can use to query for whatever movie I type in there, correct? And we know how to do that. We're going to use a service we use for the assignment. We use the HTTP service, right, that we've been using for assignment 4, is it? Okay. We're going to programmatically generate a GET request onto that URL. Yes? Okay. And hopefully it will come back with results, which we're going to return to whoever wants to call this. Who's going to call this? The controller wants to call this, right? So the controller, to be able to call this, is going to need to ask for the service to be injected into the controller so that we can call it from here, right? Search movie by title. I'm going to pass it here. There we go. Everybody okay? All right, so let's try it out. So we come back here onto our application and take a look at the network communication, right? And go into the network tab. if we refresh this and type in avatar, notice that something happened, right? It went out, and we can look at the response. Take a look. That is the response that came back from omdb, saying that there were 56 movies or series, and here are the 10 top that match that criteria, right? And we basically need to be able to somehow render this on the page, correct? But we did that already in our assignment, right? You know how to retrieve that, right? And it's an asynchronous call. You need to use promises, right, to unwrap the data and then send it over to something in the model for the page to render, correct? So let's use that. If we go here, we can we could have the service do the unwrapping for us, right? It can take the response from the server, right, and then return the data that is in there, and then the controller can take that data, the actual movies, and then pass it around maybe to a function that says maybe a separate function, maybe something like render movies, right? That takes the movies, right, and then just says model.movies. So that's tying the movies that come back from the server. We're tying it to an instance on the controller, right? So that on the template side, we can then render here the actual movies right here from the instance of the controller, so that when we render this here, we say Avatar again, or Titanic. Right? Notice that indeed we are getting that JSON object on the page, right? That gives us the title of the movies, the IMDb, the type, the poster, the images. Okay, and rendering this would be just a matter of using some kind of repeater, right, that iterates over this, using maybe a table formatter, right, that displays this, and we'll do that next.